this, I will hand over to Mr. Fazal Raza, Principal Cloud Solution Architect, Mr. Arshad Azeem, Senior Cloud Solution Architect from the United States of America. And thank you once again to our esteemed speaker. And with this, over to you.
Are you doing any introductions initially?
Fazal, well, let's do it ourselves, right? Do you want to go start?
So in order to get the public,
No problem.
like
So, my name is Fazal Raza. I'm the Cloud Solution Architect. Myself and Arshad, we work in the same company. I've been working in this company for 13 years. This company we work for is one of the large cloud providers in the world. Before that, I also worked with a couple of financial institutions in the US and also a couple of IT software companies in India as well.
Great, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Greetings. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I'm Arshad Azeem. As Fazal said, I'm a cloud architect as well. I've been in the IT industry for about 15 years, 5 of them in the cloud. I've been with this particular cloud provider for the last 3 years. And I started my career as in development and slowly transitioned towards cloud. So we have intentionally kept this today's presentation pretty light. And the idea is that, we want to share our experiences based on what you guys would like to talk about. We see quite a few people as well as organizations moving to the cloud on a daily basis. So we do help organizations ramp up staff and build teams for their cloud journeys, right? So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to stop or type in the chat window. We'll be happy to take and share our experiences as we go forward. With that said, let's start with our presentation for the day. So I'm having some issues basically navigating with while sharing screen in this particular Zoom tab. Let me see.
I think it came.
Yeah. So please get started.
So I think we thought, a lot of people know what is cloud, but we thought give you a little bit of high-level understanding of what is cloud. What we're talking about cloud and how this really apply to you guys, and then start with that. Then talk about the cloud options and how to get started, what resources are available for you to ramp up on the cloud, find a job in the cloud. So when you simply put cloud computing is a delivering of computing services, right? I mean, when you run in your own data center, what you're doing is you are buying the hardware, right? You're buying the computers and you're running applications and software in your own data center. When you move to the cloud, that part where the computing services, which includes the servers, storage, networking, and a lot of other things, those are provided by the cloud provider, and which you access them over the internet or over a secure connection. So essentially what you're doing is you're moving the compute resources from on-prem or from your company's data center to the cloud. So cloud means the cloud provider's data center actually. It is end of the day, there is a compute, there is a storage, there is a networking, but you are as a business user or as a cloud professional, you are not managing those actually. Those are maintained, managed by the cloud provider. And because we say in the cloud, because mostly you are accessing them by internet or by secure connection. And this is very significant because, when you run things in your own data center, you have to make a lot of upfront investment, right? You have to buy servers, no matter you need or not need it in a short term, right? If you need something in 6 months, you might have to buy it now, looking at the purchase cycle and the hardware into a data center and build it. But in the cloud, you don't need to worry about it because your service provider or the cloud provider is taking care of those resources. They will buy it for you, they will provision it for you, right? So you don't have to really buy it from the day one. So and you can also scale on demand, right? If you have some application which is used for buying some garments, in a festival time, you want to add more compute to that application, you can do that on demand, and you can scale down when there is no demand. So things like that really makes a lot of sense in the cloud, and it also helps you economically. And you don't need to manage and patch machines and things like that in the cloud. So that also makes a lot of difference. So it gives you flexibility, it gives you economics at scale. It also gives you innovate faster. And there are a couple of major cloud providers in the world, right? We all know one of them is AWS, Amazon Web Services. The second cloud is Azure, which is Microsoft's cloud offering. And there's a cloud offering Google called GCP, Google Cloud Google Cloud Platform. Those are three major clouds. And there are a lot of other providers also have a cloud, like Oracle has some, and other people. And again, we already talked about what we are doing. We are moving the compute services from on-prem to the cloud. That's essentially we're talking about the cloud. You can go to the next slide, Arshad. So in the cloud, there are a lot of different roles. I mean, when you are working in a technology company, either you're working in a software-related company or working in a bank, but you're supporting a technology, the roles are more or less the same, but the nature of delivering those roles changes when you go to the cloud, right? There are a lot of different options. I think we have summarized them into like 10 different roles. Some roles really cross the path between the different roles, but you can take some lead from what you do on-prem. You can relate those roles to the cloud as well. Typically, a cloud administrator or operator, what it does is they will work in the cloud to implementing, managing, monitoring your organization's cloud environment. What it means is it could be provisioning of VMs, provisioning of storage, monitoring them, managing them, things like that. These are very basic things of cloud. Taking an action on a cloud resource, like suppose VM is not running, you go and check the VM and start those VMs and things like that. Very basic things. And some responsibilities include implementing, managing, monitoring, and identity and things like that. And also storage, compute, virtual networks. So those will be some kind of operations and day-to-day operations, administration. That's what this role does. I mean, you do need some skills, but I think this is something somebody who are early in their career, this is something suitable for them. The second is a developer. The cloud developer may not be as similar to the on-prem. What developers does in on-prem, but I think you can relate to them. I think the skills you have as a developer in on-prem, you can bring those skills to the cloud as well. And it's specifically if you are maintaining cloud applications, some microservices, serverless applications, no-code applications and things like that. Those are something which a developer builds them, have expertise on them. These developers could have background in Java or .NET, Python, Node.js, and things like that. So these are the guys who create applications, maintain the applications in the cloud.
So just to add to that, right? So what really where is the difference? Because we do have developers and application developers writing code for on-prem software as well, right? For on-prem applications as well. So the shift is basically the shift in the mindset, right? And what you actually design and develop for. For example, as Fazal was mentioning, we have different kinds of cloud offerings or services from all of these different cloud providers, right? So in an on-prem world, all of the infrastructure on which these applications are deployed is controlled by you or your organization. Whereas in the cloud world, these are controlled by the cloud provider. So sometimes you do not have access to, say, the underlying platform, for example, the VM or the operating system on which your applications run. So, and sometimes also based on so that's one of the criteria, right? So you have to kind of code and develop for that, keeping in mind that you cannot probably use some native operating system level calls, so on and so forth. That's one of the criteria. The other criteria, as Fazal mentioned, was serverless, right? Wherein there are applications that you could build and run on virtual machines and stuff for hours, and there are applications that from that need to be run, or there are processes that need to be done or finished in a few minutes or a few seconds time. So that's kind of falls into the serverless model. So what developers from a cloud perspective need to do is understand where the platform is running, design and develop for that, and keep like cloud level scaling and cloud level automation in mind. And that's where there is a slight mentality shift or slight shift in what somebody actually develops for. Sorry for the please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. That makes a lot of sense and give a lot of context, right? Because developing on-prem in the cloud changes quite a bit. So I think Arshad put it in a right way. So then there are a lot of other roles like a Devops engineer, educator, and cloud practitioner. The educator is a person who normally teaches cloud technologies to other people. You right? You might have already seen a lot of people make their careers and build their lives on teaching technologies, teaching other languages, other things to the students. The cloud is no different than that. No different. People make a living, earnings from teaching a cloud, teaching technology. This is also a same, and a lot of these cloud providers provide the tools and ways for these educators to deliver the trainings and education to the people. So this is also one of the important areas people can focus.
Or also having like a new role called as cloud advocate or developer advocate within their organizations, right? They are far and few, but like one or two roles for like a cloud advocate. Basically, the purpose of that person in the role would be to set up, say, some of the best practices and kind of encourage the rest of the organization to kind of adopt to, for example, all the trends in the cloud as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense. Then I think the next role is I want to talk about the architect. Actually, you see this name very often, very common in the cloud practice. Normally, architects could be infrastructure architect or DevOps architect or data architects, and security architects. These are the subject matter expertise in designing, implementing solutions in the cloud, and they also the ones who understand the business requirements, business needs, and they put into the technology actually. These people are kind of an experts in compute, networking, storage, and security. And also, if there is an application architect, an application developer architect, he will be expert in a lot of these, developer-related technologies. Actually, it could be containers, it could be microservices, right? It could be the messaging and things like that. And they also know how to stitch all these technologies together and deliver a platform, deliver a solution for the business requirements. They also work not only just designing the application, designing the cloud and infrastructure. They also make a very strong read for securing. Because they are security focused architects as well. And as I mentioned, these people are the ones who translate the business requirements into the secure, scalable cloud solutions. They typically partner with the business and partner with the cloud administrators and DBS and the clients actually to implement the solutions. This role is something for someone who's doing administration, doing some architecture work in on-prem, wanted to be up in the cloud, who has some really good deep experience in the cloud. This role is something for them because you do need a really wide range of experience across the platform to be a good architect actually. So this is something that you start with administrator or DevOps engineer, then you grow from there to become an architect. I think I'll talk about one more role. I think before we move on, because you can find about these roles. I mean, these roles are more or less same in across the different cloud platforms. You take AWS, you take Azure or GCP or any other cloud. More or less, they are the same. They have similar responsibilities, and even the companies when they are hiring, they hire for these roles. So you can find the role description and the responsibilities anywhere on the internet. They're more or less the same. One thing I want to focus, the last one is an AI engineer. These guys are the ones who build, manage, and developing AI solutions. If somebody is developing the AI, artificial intelligence solutions in Azure, they leverage Azure Cognitive Services, cognitive search, bot frameworks, and things like that. And these guys also proficient actually. It will be really good to be proficient in the languages like C#, Python, JavaScript, and things like that. So AI engineer, somebody to be AI engineer, not only they know a lot of these cognitive services, it could be in Azure, AWS, and any other cloud, but also it's good to be know Python or one or two programming languages actually. So you take them and you build a lot of the AI solution on top of that. The last but not least, because this is very important, is the security. You have seen recent days a lot of security incidents, on-prem and also in the cloud. And the security engineer, security architect role is very high in demand. And it is also something that niche role. You do need specific expertise to be a security engineer. Somebody who knows how to implement security controls, a lot of threat protection, managing identity and access, also understand how to protect the data and applications. This is something for those people. These are the guys who design the applications, the infrastructure to be secure in the cloud, and also they are very integral part of the end-to-end infrastructure. They work closely with the solution architect. They work closely with the administrators and folks like that. So these are the typically roles. There could be more roles, but I think more or less all the roles will fall into these categories. And these are mostly the same across all clouds. Could be same, some variations, but I think they have the similar responsibilities. So depending on where if you are a fresh person, maybe take a look at the developer or administrator roles. But if you're some senior, have a couple of years experience, you can look at the architect roles, security roles, and things like that. So unless you have any questions, feel free to ask questions in the chat window, or we can take some questions at the end as well. So I'll move on to the next slide. Cool. Imran, Arshad, do you have anything to add?
No, I think we're good. The only point I just wanted to add in the previous ones is, again, all of these are the roles that we have in the on-premises world as well. The shift is basically in the mindset and what you actually design for, right? So that's why you have to keep cloud in perspective. The other thing is there are lots of finer grained roles in all of these, right? So say when you say security engineer or a security architect, right? So there is network security, there is data governance and data governance and data security, and then there are lots of lower level security jobs as well, in a sense that you could be a level 1 or a level 2 SOC analyst, SOC analyst, and what mostly level 1 SOC analysts do is they observe. So you configure your applications for, say, any sort of security incidents and metrics. Level 1 SOC analysts pretty much keep an eye on, for example, you build a nice dashboard that shows up the status of your security, right? What are your vulnerabilities? Are there any incidents happening? And level 1 SOC analysts, for example, are trained to actually handle some of those. primarily look at a dashboard, react to it, and then from a React perspective, they could shut down access, or they could escalate it to the next level, so on and so forth. So it doesn't have to be, meaning you do not have to be extremely experienced with 15 years of experience for any of these to basically take up any of these roles. You have different, each of these roles or categories supports entry level to extremely experienced people. So yeah, you could pretty much find your path based on what skills you have currently and what's your level of experience. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, thanks, Arshad. So next thing we'll talk about actually is somebody who wanted to be create their career in cloud, or somebody who's already seasoned professional, but they wanted to move themselves to in the cloud and create a career in the cloud. What resources are available for you? Because we always think, okay, do I need to go to a paid training, or do I need to join these classes? Do we need to do that, or there's something that out there that I can use it free? They can leverage it. So all cloud vendors, I would say the major cloud providers, could be Microsoft or AWS or Google, right? They all want they all want people to be trained in their platform, right? More people they train, more people adapt their cloud, right? If Microsoft train more people, there are more people out there who can advocate their cloud, right? And join those jobs. So customers also look for, sometimes they look for a technology to adapt where there are more skill sets available. So every one of these cloud are making sure they provide enough resources for you to get trained actually to ramp up on them. If you look at the Azure, they have a very nice website called, if you type Azure Learn in Google or Bing, you will get that link and you can go and train. They have path-based training, they have the role-based training. Apart from the training, they also have the hands-on labs actually, right? So you can do the labs on their website directly. And the trainings are so extensive, it gives you really good way of learning different roles actually. Suppose you are a data scientist, you have the path actually. It will give you step by step how you go from step 1 to step 100 actually, from a beginner to an expert, how to train. So everything in their website. Same thing with the AWS. I believe same thing with the Google as well. But I have seen Azure is really good in training, and the AWS as well. I haven't seen the Google content. I guess they will be the same as well. But they have a really good online training, self-paced training, including the labs actually. So you can leverage that. That is one of the important resources. The second thing is, again, all these free cloud providers also provide you free subscription or account where you can create your own lab environment and play and practice actually. They will give you some credits to create a free account where you can run your VMs, you can run your databases, you can do coding, you can test, and things like that. You can do all those things in their environment, and it is free of cost actually. And there are some services which are like lower tier services which are free for 12 months or indefinitely actually, right? You can use those resources and get learn and certify actually, and do practicals. Practicals are very important things. You can do that. So those are the two main things. Even when I need to learn something, even though I've been working this in the cloud for almost like 6-7 years, I go to the online training which is available for the public and learn myself, because we update them, we have our documentations and everything is pretty easy. So it is not just for the seasonal professional, but also for the beginners, because the course is self-laid in such a way that you can start from the beginning and go to the advanced level. So you can do that. And every major cloud provider also have a YouTube channel actually, right? You can use their YouTube channel, subscribe the YouTube channel, and learn. You can listen to their presentations, webinars, and things like that. Then there are learning platforms where you can pay and learn. And some of these platforms will provide you some free courses, but I think anything really good one that you need to be, then you need to be pay actually. But something you want to get certified, you want to go a little bit deeper training, then you can pay one of these platforms and learn actually. That's another thing. Then there are, if you go to Microsoft event website or AWS and GCP, they have a lot of online training opportunities for They have webinars. They do almost every day. They have something is going on. Sometimes they have for data scientists. They have something for Azure SQL. If you take a database, they have something for data analyst actually, right? There are something for virtual desktop environment, networking, security. So there are a lot of those webinars. They also go very deeper. They also provide a lot of links. There are remote. There are also in person. When I used to work in India, like almost 15, 20 years back, I used to go to a lot of these events run by Microsoft, run by Oracle, run by the Red Hat. They used to do it in an in-person event. In-person event is not there right now because of COVID, but once it is done, you have those opportunities to do it. So there are resources are available. It is all up to you how you plan, how much time you want to invest, and where you want to take your career in the next level. So things are available for you. You search, you find all this. It will be good for somebody. I think I'll talk about how to get started. But I think the resources are available for you if somebody wants to get.
Yeah, so basically we've talked about what are the different roles, what are the resources available to learn some of these cloud skills, but what skills do you actually really need to get there, right? So we've based on what the roles are, you probably already might have gotten a decent idea about what are the skills needed. So what I would like to emphasize primarily, or both of us would like to emphasize, is that build on what you already have. So if you're already working and have a few years of experience under your belt, you could leverage that, you could basically use that, right? So if you are an infrastructure person, an operations person, an app development person, a database security, whatever your current role is, if you're already working, you already have a path towards the cloud. So you could pretty much use the same concepts. A DBA would use the database administration and management concepts that they apply on-prem, and only thing would be that they would think about now deploying and running databases in the cloud from a cloud perspective. So how does that work? How does a provider manage database work? How does the backups work? What happens when, say, a database goes? How does replication work? So on and so forth. Similarly, from an app development perspective, how do you develop cloud native applications? That's a buzzword that's very frequently used these days. But it's not just a buzzword, but you also have to think from that context. Right, so that's one thing. What are the other skills? So, say, generally speaking, networking is primarily a very important skill to have within the cloud world, and the reason is because now you're running your applications in data centers provided by a cloud provider. So your applications would have to run and talk to, say, should be accessible from the internet for external customers to use, like an Amazon website, for example, or your internal company folks as well, right? Maybe you're running your intranet sites on the cloud. So how does all of that connectivity work? And even within that connectivity, how do you secure those connections, right? There are concepts of like how do you connect them through, for example, a cloud provider's backbone. Is your traffic going through the internet? Is your traffic going through, for example, cables provided between, say, your company's data center and the cloud provider's data center, things like that, right? And then how is the routing going to work? How is the security going to work? Are you filtering all of that traffic that is going out through a cloud provider? Now for example, big banks and people in regulated industries don't want to completely fully trust the cloud provider, so they do want to see what traffic is going out of their environment, right? Their environment within the cloud. So they would like to apply have firewalls so that they actually filter and inspect traffic that is going out there. So that's where networking comes in. Even though whether it's an infrastructure, an application that you're running, or a database that you're running, how do you connect from that database to something else, or how does your application talks to your database? All of that is part of networking. So if you already have networking skills, great, just try it out on a cloud platform. The other very important skill to have these days within the cloud world is infrastructure automation. So typically what we've done from that perspective is like, yeah, if you're a Windows Server admin, you may have learned to administer Windows by clicking buttons, right? Or writing, say, PowerShell or command or batch scripts. Similarly, in the Linux world, you probably would have written bash scripts. Other than that, these days, primarily Terraform is automation or a scripting technology that has been very prevalent. The advantage of using something like Terraform is that I wouldn't say it is completely cloud platform agnostic, but you could use the same Terraform constructs and run basically provision infrastructure, right? When we say provision infrastructure, how do you create a VM in the cloud? Or how do you create a database in the cloud? And how do you deploy into it? How do you create a firewall in the cloud, for example? All of those things can be done by something like a Terraform script. And you could write a Terraform for AWS, for Azure, for GCP. So it's a very nice skill to have. It is helpful if you have something like a Terraform or an Ansible on your resume. You're more likely to get picked for a cloud tool, for example, right? Similarly, all the cloud providers have their own custom scripting as well. So Terraform is something that, let's say, cloud agnostic for the sake of this discussion, right? So you would use it across cloud platforms. Whereas something like a cloud formation is AWS specific. If you are learning that, you would know how to create infrastructure within an AWS world. Similarly, Azure has its own CLI, its own PowerShell platform, and REST APIs. Ansible is also sort of cloud agnostic in that sense, and it's basically, now that Red Hat has acquired Ansible, it's being used to maintain infrastructure within all cloud providers, but majorly in the IBM Red Hat world these days. Then DevOps, right? You guys, or I'm pretty sure this has been around for a few years now, the concept and the constructs. And what's really important from a DevOps perspective is that how do you create something like your CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous delivery pipeline, so that you create those pipelines for a use case such as infrastructure provisioning, right? Creating your servers, etc. As well as the main use case of DevOps is how do you build and deploy your applications onto, basically build and deploy your applications, right? Whether it's on-prem or whether it's in the cloud. So DevOps is a very important construct and very important skill to have these days. Primarily from a DevOps perspective, what we are looking at is creation of pipelines. So there are a bunch of different DevOps tools out there. We have GitHub Actions, which is basically GitHub's pipeline tool. We have GitLab, Jenkins, Azure DevOps, etc. So the idea is that all of these, they are based on the product and the vendor. How you do things may be different, but conceptually they are all the same. Meaning, say you're building an application, you compile it, you build it, you test it, you deploy it, right? These are, say, some of the high-level actions that you do within an application build platform. So all of those constructs are similar. You could probably use click of buttons, you could probably use YAMLs and scripting and whatnot, but having DevOps skills would put you basically get you set up for, say, deploying to a cloud platform as well. So it's a very great skill, good skill to have these days. Containers, a lot of these applications are switching to containers, right? Some old applications, you could easily package them into containers and deploy and run them anywhere, including primarily on a cloud platform, for example. And as part of containers, lots of different orchestrators, right? Say when you have multiple containers that are that are running out there, how do you make sure that there is communication between those containers? What happens when, say, a container crashes? How does who brings up another container, so on and so forth, right? So those kind of considerations are these days taken care of by container orchestration platforms, and Kubernetes has pretty much won the race in that. So having skills within Kubernetes will get you set up for success within, say, within any cloud platform. Similarly, application development. So we've kind of touched upon this in the previous slides as well. So regardless of what's your favorite programming language, be it Python, Java, C#, whatnot, you could use the same one. Just think about it from a cloud perspective. All the cloud providers have SDKs that native SDKs that you can use to write applications for the cloud. For example, Amazon has SDKs for storage layers like S3 for their application platforms, Beanstalk, Lambda, so on and so forth, right? Similarly, Azure and GCP have their own as well. So you could leverage your existing skills. The point I'm trying to drive is you could leverage your existing skills. The mindset and the shift, if you kind of change it a little bit, you should be set up. And same, security. So we did talk about network security earlier when discussing the network. And the other things are like, data governance. We have residency requirements, especially within European countries, like the data should not leave their country or the European Union, so on and so forth, right? So how do you make sure that the cloud providers have data centers across all the countries and multiple places in each country? So you have to make sure, you have to plan such that your data resides in the area or the geography that your application resides in. Similarly, there are lots of compliances out there. NIST compliances, CIS compliances, PCI compliances, and all of that, right? So you will have to. So if you have enough experience, if you're entry level, you do not have to worry about this. You could focus on any of the ones that above, based on application development, Devops, or infrastructure. And if you are already into security and are experienced, then you will also have to plan for compliance, right? Whether your applications will pass a compliance audit, especially for, say, highly regulated industries scenarios. So how do we get started? Primarily, if you are already working, right, the best way is to find something internally, a channel. Besides that, there are multiple cloud technologies, multiple different, and even multiple cloud vendors, and then multiple different cloud technologies as well, right? So what you could do is, there are two options to do it. You could pick up one cloud technology, by which, if you are interested in app development and containers, you could probably pick that up, right? And then gain some expertise by means of all the different trainings that Fazal covered, or find your own ways to learn. But the idea is to, like, okay, if you're a container guy, if you're an app guy, learn how to write applications, learn how to package them into containers and run them. Once you do that, then regardless of whether you're running it in an on-premises world, whether you're running it in Amazon, whether you're running it in Microsoft's Azure, the concepts are pretty much the same. So you could then run it anywhere. That's one way of looking at it. The other way is like, some people would like to be like, hey, I want to develop, or I want to get into learn AWS. Some people would be like, I want to learn Azure. So you could also pick up a cloud platform and then focus on that, right? So each cloud provider, as we said earlier, has their own certification learning paths. So you could focus on one of that learning path and learn that particular cloud technology, right? So either ways, the difference or the point I'm trying to drive is, yeah, you either focus on the fundamentals and learn how to do uh, the thing or the area, your area of interest well, and learn it so that you could deploy and run it, do it anywhere in any cloud. That's one way to look at it. The other way you could look at it is basically that just to learn a cloud provider, right? Learn a cloud platform, not the provider. So that's one. And then yeah, obviously when you do this, you have to be driven enough, in a sense that you have to have short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals. So create a plan like a 30-day, 90-day, and like a 180-day plan, so on and so forth. And then say, from what I understand, a lot of people in here are either new, starting their careers, or like entry level, or haven't started working yet, right? So what you will have to also do is understand the differences between, say, the on-prem world and the cloud world, and you could easily get that by, like, say, chatting to your peers, relatives, friends, so on and so forth. And every geography there is, when I say geography, I'm referring to, like, say, in India there are one or two cloud providers that are prominent, right? In, say, Asia Pacific, say you're looking at Singapore, Hong Kong, China, there are other cloud providers that are prominent, similar. So you'll have to figure out, do some market research around what cloud providers and what cloud platforms are prominent, where the jobs are, what skills do you need to have in your own area, or where basically you live or you're looking forward to work, right? So that's another important aspect. And we cannot again stress the importance of, like, doing these things hands-on. Yeah, first iteration, first pass you could, terminology in the cloud sometimes is a shift from what you already know. So and then the services as well, right? So we have, for example, storage in Amazon, we say S3. In Microsoft, we say blob storage, right? So the terminology and the services, kind of how you name the services change, but the underlying concepts are the same. So learn about that. Once you get a base level understanding of what those are, definitely please do some advanced trainings, a lot of practical implementations. And the platforms that we discussed, the learning platforms that we discussed earlier, they do provide sandbox environments where you could go and deploy and run something, right? And when it's done, you could tear it down so that you don't have to pay for it, or it doesn't incur additional costs, and so forth. So do definitely plan for that, as well as events, right? I know everybody does, since we talked about events, all providers do it. Microsoft also does something called as open hacks that are available in every geography periodically, once every few months, in, say, in Hyderabad, in Bangalore, in other places in India, in the US, UK, everywhere in the world, right? So, and those are pretty much free to use, right? All you have to do is go register, and it's usually a 3-day event, for example. And what you get to do is they curate, they give you bunch of hands-on activities, and you do them as a group, right? So what you are learning there is basically a lot of hands-on skills in a particular area of your choice, for example. So do that. And then the other important thing is, if you're starting new or even new to the cloud, yeah, obviously talking to people, finding good mentors, and seeking their advice and feedback as to, hey, what should I be learning, how should I be approaching these things, and especially if you have questions around a particular technology area or skill set, you definitely seek a mentor, talk to them, and if you guys need any help, we'll be happy to help you guys as well.
Hey, one thing I want to add, Arshad, there, guys, to be honest each other, right? We all want quick results, right? We want shortcuts. We want something, you do like a couple of days, you want to see results. But, if you really wanted to work in a respectable, reputed big 3 or 4 companies, it's not easy, right? There's no shortcut. There is no silver bullet. There is no magic wand, actually. You need to do hard work. You need to dedicate. You need to focus, actually, and focus on your goal, what you want to do it. You create those 30, 90, 180 days goals, especially somebody who are new, who for a fresher, you dedicate your time, your time, learn, create a plan. So, we used to, we want quick results and quick outcomes. But if you wanted to work in companies like this, not only technology, but even other technology, big company, multinationals, right? You create a plan, you dedicate yourself, you spend time, do hard work. Only that will give the results, other than that, I think there's nothing much you could do, because there's no, your brother sitting in the big company who's going to send you a job, right? It's not like Gulf where your brother will send you a visa and something like this. It's a company where you have to go through a rigorous interview, actually, right? For freshers, it may not be. For senior people, it's a tough interview. There are 3 or 4 rounds of interviews. You can only clear those if you are done your work. You practiced a lot. You studied a lot. You work. You talk to the other people about experience. So yeah, it is not easy. But I think when you go through all this and you land a job, that's a very rewarding experience, right? I mean, you're proud what you've done. So that makes a lot of difference. Yeah, that's the only thing I want to say.
Thank you. So, if you're new and say, how do you actually get a foothold, right? So you're starting your career, or the other scenario is you're already working but you're new to the cloud. And how would you show credentials either to a recruiter or even to your own manager? Is by doing some cloud certifications. So again, certifications are get you decent basics, and they show that you are committed, you're driven enough to learn new technologies, and that should be good enough for most people to kind of say, put you on the job on one of the cloud projects, right? Especially if you're already working. And these are some of the primary certifications that are out there that are quite famous and that are also well regarded and respected in the community. Obviously, Microsoft's and each of these providers provide different kinds of certification paths, different expertises, certifications in different levels of expertise. But start with something like a solutions architect that gives you a base level knowledge of everything that you need to learn about that particular cloud platform. As I mentioned earlier, Terraform is pretty big these days. So having a Terraform Associate certificate from HashiCorp would help. The CNCF certifications are some of the best certifications out there. They are also some of the toughest, meaning they are not multiple choice. You'll have to basically do some hands-on work on the live system. So the CNCF Kubernetes certifications, if you get one of these, you will be regarded as somebody who is pretty decent or good at Kubernetes, and these are some of the certifications that are well regarded in the industry. So you could, from a goal perspective, you could also set these as one of your goals and then work towards it, right? And that would also give you a decent base level knowledge of what the cloud platform is. So one last slide that we wanted to kind of talk about and conclude is how do you land a job in the cloud, right? So if you're already working, look for roles internally by learning and building cloud skills. So by taking certifications, by attending those events and stuff like that. Other thing is you need to build your own brand. And by brand, I don't mean like you have to be the most famous person within the technology area or anything, but you should at least have a decent GitHub profile, wherein say you're an application developer, you need to have maybe a few applications that you have built so that recruiters or your hiring managers, etc., can look at it and get a sense that, hey, this guy or girl is pretty decent and can do some of the work. So show off your work, right? So that's what we mean by building your own brand. So have a good GitHub profile, do some technical writing, write articles and blogs, make videos if that's something that you can and interests you. And the whole idea is that before you even go for an interview, interviewers typically look up for people, right? Say person X, let's Google and see what he or she is up to. So the idea is that they should be able to find some some of your work online, and they should already have made up a mind that, hey, if this interview goes reasonably, okay, I'm gonna hire the person, right? So the idea behind that is to have some sort of online presence, and a very respectable online presence, in the sense that it shows your career aspirations and technical capabilities more so than anything else. And then when you get a chance, right, participate and speak at events. So this probably may seem overwhelming to many people, but it's not that difficult. So there are lots of local area meetups and user groups, right? If you go to meetup.com and search for, like, say you're interested in Amazon, right? Search for AWS meetup group in your area. You will find it. You join that, and then you attend a couple of sessions. And once you do it, you can then do a follow-up session yourself, saying, hey, I will present topic X in AWS for our meetup. And those are usually friendly groups. Nobody is judging, everybody is trying to learn and contribute. And you also always have people from respective providers as well. Like Amazon has like their employees participating in AWS meetups. Microsoft would have their employees participating in Azure meetups, right? So then those employees who are there will also be able to help you and guide you. And the reality is that most area meetups, unless it's a big metro area with a lot of tech people who are eager to participate, most area meetups are always looking for speakers and presenters. And again, it's most of these are friendly groups, so you do not even have to don't get overwhelmed in order to speak those. And what this gives you is the ability to speak, the confidence to speak. You will build up your technical credentials by presenting to a bunch of people. And then it also helps you network with people, right? So it's not just people from your company, it's also people from many other companies in the city that you live in, for example. So, and usually meetups also have like a small section at the end, a 5-minute section where people can, if somebody is looking for a job, they can advertise, they can say that, hey, I'm looking for a job, please let me know, these are my skills. And same, like if somebody is hiring, they would also kind of broadcast and evangelize that. So it's also an excellent place to network as well as build your skills at the same time and learn new things. Other than that, just always keep a lookout on what's coming. So even when you've learned a few things, even when say you got a baseline knowledge and you're good at, for example, a particular technology or a cloud provider, always be open, because these guys are always releasing new updates and new services. So it's very, very important for everybody, including ourselves, right, including myself, for example, to keep an eye on what's evolving, what are the evolving trends in the technology, what are the updates that a provider has made in a particular release, so that you are always up to date with that knowledge and can leverage that in your job, for example. So the other things are learn and practice, create a network, but we cannot stress the importance of one, learning, and then the second thing would be building your brand by showcasing some of your work online, for example, by means of a GitHub profile. So
I think one thing I want to add is especially people who are already working, because these days every company want to do something in the cloud, and they're also looking for the people who knows the cloud actually. But if you are already working in that company, and even though you don't know the cloud, if you can build a little bit on the cloud, and they always wanted to take people internally actually, so it will be easy transition for somebody who's already working there and wanted to move from a regular on-prem a job to the cloud related job. So look out for those. If you're already working in a company and your company want to do something in the cloud, they will be the easy fix actually, right? That's the easiest way of moving from a traditional job to the cloud job. So for existing people, and again, the new people, I think, can also Arshad talked about GitHub profile. You can also look for LinkedIn profile actually. Create a LinkedIn profile there and demonstrate your skills there. And mostly, practice and learn and do the practical labs and things like that, and be in touch. Make somebody who works in the cloud as your friend actually, right? and talk to them, and I take their guidance, take their help. And because 80% of jobs in the technology are recruited by references. I know somebody who's good at this technology. I refer him in my company. Same thing, a lot of these jobs are filled with the references. Somebody knows someone who knows this technology, and there's a requirement, they refer their name. So this is very important. How much you create a network, and how much you know people. How many people you know. That's how you get jobs faster. So create a network, have somebody mentor you, help you out, and keep lookout for the jobs. For the beginners, there are always people need a job for 1 to 3 years experience, but have those skills. When there is jobs opens up, and you can go and apply for those and demonstrate your skills and what you learn, and you can also use the references from what you've done, your work. If you wrote some blog, and you can take the blog and show to them, even the fresher have done this work. So those will really help you land a job, and following, having a mentor will also help you as well.
Right. So with that, I think we are right about time, but I think I'll be happy to stick around and take any questions. Some you guys may.
Anyone have any questions? I think you can mute and ask questions.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Fazal, Raza, and Arshad. It was a very good overview about the cloud technologies and the options and your experience, what you have shared. I think it is very fruitful to all the participants. So, participants, please feel free to put your question on the chat window. And
yeah, so I see one question from Surush that says, I'm from